Hi, welcome everyone. Welcome. My name is Meredith, and I'm one of the academic advisors here in this workshop. We have a really exciting workshop for all of you, and I'm really glad that you all have um, joined us today. So my name is Meredith. I'm here at the Woodsworth College Registrar Office. We're joined here with Anna, Jennifer, Winnie, and Natasha, Natasha at Woodsworth Registrar Office, but we're also here with Mamie, Kajal. I think I'm saying your name correctly, and Joshua. So, as well as Charlotte. And so we have some upper year students who are going to be here and they're going to be able to answer your questions and also share about how they're programmed. So this is our third workshop, part of our series for the summer. And so our first one was on study permits. The second one was all about transitioning into U of T. And this one is those big picture goals, designing your degree, talking about those degree requirements and first year opportunities. So for today, we'll start with degree requirements. Then we'll have the upper year student panel. Then we'll move to program planning, talking about what is involved with choosing your programs, and then first year opportunities, and then ending with future opportunities. If you have questions along the way, what I'd recommend you do is just write them down. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end, so you will certainly be able to have someone answer your questions live, but we are going to save it to the end. So just write them down. And just know throughout this whole session, we will, it may be a lot of me chatting, but there will be polls. So I'll have some questions along the way. And I recognize that all of us come with different familiarity with what it's like to be a university student, what it's like to be a Faculty of Arts and Science student. So just know that I have no, you can just answer those questions. There's no stress. I'm not keeping track. So just feel free to have fun with it, answer the best way you can, and we'll answer them together. All right, before we get into things, I do want to just talk about the summer to-do list. So you've all been added to the Welcome to Woodsworth Quercus site. This is, Quercus is where your online sessions, Quercus is the learning platform where all your courses will take place in the fall. So this is, I think it's really helpful to log in to view the Welcome to Woodsworth place, just because it's good to get familiar with where you're going to be finding your course syllabus, where you're going to be maybe submitting assignments, where you might be communicating with your instructors. For right now, what Woodsworth has done is we've created a bunch of information here where you can find things about orientation, the summer to-do list here as well. So that's here where you can find out what to do in June, July, August, September. All of our workshops and recordings are listed here. And like I said, there's the Woodsworth orientation where you can keep up to date here for the excitement that will be starting. There's an Instagram handle to follow to stay updated with that. But then in addition to that, there is some other additional orientation that might be helpful to make note of as well. So orientations like the transfer student orientation or Black student orientation, queer orientation, Indigenous student orientation, orientation for students with family responsibilities, and mature student welcome. There's lots of information. So I wanted to take a moment for you all to find that. You can certainly follow the QR code here as well. There's more than just this here, but I think some notable things is if you're an international student, making sure you apply for your study permit as early as possible, reviewing any first year learning community opportunities, and July 13th is that deadline to register with accessibility services if that is something you're interested in. All right, let's start off with some polls. So Natasha, if you can launch the poll. The first one is myth or fact. Myth or fact. You have been admitted to a program within the Faculty of Arts and Science. The second one, myth or fact. you have to pick your programs in first year and stick with it. For this myth or fact, you've been admitted to a program within the Faculty of Arts and Science. So this one I actually kind of put in as a trick. A lot of you did answer true. The truth is actually you haven't been admitted to a program yet. You've actually been admitted to a admission category. Program enrollment actually happens unless you're an upper year transfer student, but it usually happens at the end of first year in March. So the whole point of first year is actually knowing that the program enrollment is at the end and how do we set up our courses in first year for that program enrollment part. And lastly, myth or fact, you have to pick your programs in first year and stick with it. The majority of you did say false, and that is you're right. You actually don't need to, like, although it's helpful to pick your programs and have a specific goal in mind, and pick your programs at the end of first year and have it, just know it is flexible. Every year program enrollment opens. And so a lot of students do change their mind. They might change out a minor or add in a minor. Part of that is because like we come to university and we realize maybe our interests change, or like there's over 400 programs. So with that in mind, like you may not know all the really great programs until you stumble across a course or you talk to someone who's in a really cool program and you might want to follow that interest. So it's normal for that program planning to change. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you so much, Natasha, for sharing that. All right, so today we are talking about degree requirements. So I just want to show you what it looks like in the academic calendar. The academic calendar is where students go for all their information. So under degree requirements, there's Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Commerce. And so if we go to the Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science, this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is just simplify it a little bit and then break it down. So really what the degree requirements do is it sets that there is a certain number of credits that everyone needs to complete by the time they graduate. Then there also are a certain number of credits that need to be at specific levels. So that kind of makes sense. Not all of your credits can be at the 100 level. We do need to take different courses at different levels. Then there's that program requirement. So choosing programs is a requirement part of the degree requirements, and that's essentially why we choose programs. And then there is the minimum cumulative grade point average. So that is a part of the degree, and then the breadth requirement. So let's dive in. All right, so requirement 1, number of credits. You need 20 credits to graduate. So by the time you graduate, you'll complete 20 credits. Of that 20 credits, 10 need to be offered within the Faculty of Arts and Science. And that's important if you are an upper year transfer student, or maybe you're taking courses at another university, maybe on an exchange, or maybe at Scarborough or Mississauga. You certainly can do those things, but if you do, I would check in with an academic advisor in those situations, but just know at least 10 need to be from the St. George campus within the Faculty of Arts and Science, with a total of at least 20. So those 20 credits can be full of H courses, which run from one term, either from September to September to December, or from January to April. So those are half credit. They run one term. And Y courses, for the majority of them, there is an exception in computer science, but the majority of them are year-long courses that run from September to April, and that's one full credit. 5 credits is the recommended course load, and you might be wondering, how did we come across that? So if we remember, 20 credits is what we need to graduate, and when we think about Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Commerce, we generally think about things in terms of the 4 years. That's kind of the rough timeline that we have in mind. So if we're doing 20 credits over 4 years, that's 5 credits per fall-winter session. Some students, I find when I talk to students, they have this idea that 5 credits is considered full-time, but in fact, 3 credits or more during the fall-winter session over the full fall-winter session is full-time. So you can actually do a reduced course load and still be full-time. So if 5 credits is too much, just know that's an option. Part-time is anywhere from 0.5 to 2.5 credits in that fall winter session. So yeah, like I said, you can do a reduced course load. Maybe you're someone that, like, for instance, in my case, I like doing 4 credits per fall winter session. So that's an option. Maybe you want to take a summer course, or and then it would still be four years. Maybe you're someone that has other responsibilities and 2 credits feels better in the fall winter with some in the summer. Then it stretches to 7 years. So your course load will determine the timeline in some cases. Again, first year we recommend taking no more than 5 credits. And when you're considering your course load, there are some things I would keep in mind. So funding resources. If you have a provincial loan or a US student loan, there might be requirements to be full-time in those cases, so keeping that in mind. Or immigration, that graduation timeline could also be a factor that you're considering for your course load. Responsibilities outside of school, maybe you're working, maybe you're taking care of dependents, whether it's parents or children, whatever the case. Maybe you're in residence and your residence requires you to be full-time. All of these situations should be considered when choosing your course load. Okay, second, let's go into the certain number of credits at specific levels. So requirement 2, Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science. For those, out of those 20 credits, 13 need to be 200 or higher. And at least 6 of those 13 need to be 300 or higher. Bachelor of Commerce has very similar. The only difference is that they say that 1 credit needs to be at the 400 level. So they state that there is a 400 level component that's required for their degree. Jessica, I see you have a question. Just know what I'm going to ask is you write it down and we'll get to your Q&A at the end, okay? Just know I'm not ignoring it. Requirement 2. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So courses are either at 100, 200, 300, or 400 level. And so I think it makes sense. A lot of students think, okay, first year you take 100 level, second year 200 level, 300, third year 300, and so on. But actually, if you remember, you only need to take 6 credits at the 300 level, and it doesn't even, like with Bachelor of Commerce, it only says 1 credit at the 400 level. So that means your fourth year might only have like 2 courses, maybe 3 courses at the 400. So what that suggests is that you might be taking 300 level courses in your fourth year, or in your second year, or your 200 level in your third. So they don't necessarily, you don't really need to follow first, second, third, or fourth. What it does mean is that a lot of programs, especially major and specialists, they have specific requirements that some are set at 100, then you take the 203. And so they are, there is a ladder to them based on prerequisites where you have to take them. And it also signifies different level of, I think, difficulty. 400 level will be more difficult than 300 and so on. The other thing is the expectations of instructors. All right, so 13 need to be at the 200 level. Really, what we recommend is in first year, primarily you're taking 100 level courses in your first year. The exception is, of course, if you're an incoming transfer student, you would have a different set. You would probably take upper year courses if you had the prerequisites. All right, let's jump into another myth or fact. So Natasha, if you can share that. Okay, myth or fact. Students within the Faculty of Arts and Science need to finish their degree in 4 years. The second one, myth or fact, 3 credits during the fall winter session is considered full-time status. All right. All right, I can tell you guys are on it. Well done. So you're right. So myth or fact, students can take longer than 4 years. Of course, yeah, there's no deadline from the degree requirement point of view where you need to complete things in 4 years. And then you also got it right. 3 credits during the fall winter session is considered full-time. All right. We can stop sharing. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, so let's move to the program requirements. So Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science. For that one, by the end of your first year, once you complete 4 credits, you need to pick 1 specialist or 2 majors or 1 major and 2 minors. Bachelor of Commerce, you'll take one of the 3 specialists, depending on if you want management, finance and economics, or accounting. So we have the minimum program combination. You might be wondering, okay, what's the difference between a specialist, a major, and a minor? Essentially, the big difference is just the number of credits that are affiliated with each one. So again, remember that we need 20 credits to graduate. So if you're picking a specialist, usually the programs include anywhere from 10 to 14 credits. So that means half, or maybe in almost 3/4 of your degree will be devoted to one subject area. If that excites you, maybe a specialist is a good idea. Majors are anywhere between 6 to 8 credits. So if you do 2 majors, you're going to learn knowledge in 2 subject areas and get a significant amount of knowledge in those areas. While minors are 4 credits, while that still is a significant amount of knowledge, it is just touching on something. So really, what I would say to that is you might be interested in a minor if you're doing a major and 2 minors, because maybe you really appreciate how different subject areas relate to each other or how different they are. Maybe you really appreciate the interdisciplinary part of it. So all of those are, like, I hope you can see there really is no right way. It's whatever you pick, your interests, and what your academic goals are. All right, so now we're going to do a scenario. Natasha, if you can share, perfect. So what's wrong with Stella's plan? Stella says they are in the economics program and plans to take Eco 101, Eco 102, Eco 202, and Eco 314 right away in first year to get ahead. What could be wrong with this statement? So A, if Stella chooses an economics major, they would also need another major or 2 minors to meet degree program requirements. Where are the other programs? B, first year students are not yet in specific programs. They were admitted to an admission category. Stella isn't in the economics major yet. They'll be applying later, typically after first year. C, economics is a limited enrollment program, so acceptance is not guaranteed. Stella should have alternate programs in place in case they aren't accepted. And D, Eco 202 and Eco 314 are upper year courses that usually require prerequisites, so Stella likely would not be eligible to take them in first year. And E, of course, all of the above. All right. Great. Okay, so it is split a little bit, and honestly, that's because it really is all the above. I would accept any of these because really all of them are correct. So if you chose A, you're right. Where are the other programs? If you pick an economics major, if Stella does, then they would either need 1 major and 2 minors. So as an academic advisor, I would hope to see other course subject areas in this course plan as well. B, we've talked about Stella isn't in the program yet. That'll come later. We're picking courses to make sure that they can apply for the economics, because C is correct too. Economics is limited, so we have open and limited programs, which we'll talk closer to the end of this session. And enrollment into some are open, which means enrollment is automatic, but some are limited. So learning what are required to get into those programs is helpful. And the students really shouldn't take like 200 or 300. There might be cases where 200 makes sense if there's no prerequisites, but certainly not 300 level unless you're an upper year transfer student and you have those prerequisites. So well done, all of you. Well done. Okay, we can stop sharing. Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about that minimum cumulative grade point average. And so when I share this information, I just want I guess I'll state first, it is a 1.85 CGPA. So that includes all the courses that you take in first year to fourth year, included if you happen to fail a course, the failed grade will still be part of that cumulative grade point average. When I talk to students about a CGPA, I do recognize there is a little bit of stress about it. One, because a lot of students come into university because in grade 12 or their previous education, their grades were pretty high. I think the big thing is just know that if you get your first midterm back and it might be a little bit lower, just know it's normal. There is a there is a transition. There is a something that happens when we are in a new environment. And so it takes some time. My big recommendation for that is meet with an academic advisor or reflect on what might have happened and think about what approaches you might need to change. The earlier we notice those things, the better. But at the same time, just also, I don't want to stress you out. Like things, you will most likely like with an academic advisor, we can sort through this. So 1.8.5 is the requirement to graduate. 1.5 is also something to keep in mind to stay in good standing. So as I mentioned, most students do experience a drop in their grades compared to high school and previous education. So what my suggestion is if you get some grades back that are lower than 60%, that's a really good signal to meet with an academic advisor because there's ways to like manage, like maybe we drop a course or maybe we search out different resources. There's learning strategists on campus. There's tutors on campus through Victoria College for certain subject areas. We have a math learning center and a writing center. So all these things are things we can brainstorm ideas about, or maybe talking to your TA or joining your instructor during office hours. Those are all good ideas. Okay, now let's talk about that breadth requirement. So the breadth requirement can be a little bit tricky to wrap our minds around, but how I like to describe it is that all of our courses fall within one of the 5 categories. So the majority of them do. So creative and cultural representation, I like to think about it as our languages, our fine arts, maybe our English or all of those. Thought, belief, and behavior, those are like philosophy and psychology. Society and its institutions is like economics and sociologies. Living things in their environment is like biology, maybe some, I think, evolution, courses on evolution, the physical and mathematical universe. That's, as the name says, physics and math. So to complete this, you can do it in 1 or 2 ways. The first option is you can complete 1 credits in 4 of the 5 and just ignore one of those categories, or you can do 1 credit in 3 out of the 5 categories and at least a half credit remaining in the remaining 2 categories. All right. We have another scenario question. So thanks, Natasha. So Omar is worried about how to fit the courses they need for program enrollment in their first year timetable with the courses they need for breadth requirements. Additionally, they are planning on working part-time and feel more comfortable taking 4 credits instead of 5 to manage their time. Omar needs to maintain full-time enrollment status for their provincial loans. So how are they going to make this all work? So that's a lot of information, okay? So first, Omar can visit a learning strategist in September who can share tips on time and distraction management. B, breadth requirements do not need to be completed in first year since they are degree requirements. C, working part-time and taking a reduced course load sounds like a great idea, but Omar should probably confirm whether a reduced course load still counts as full-time enrollment status for their provincial loans. And D, Omar should visit an academic advisor to sort through their priorities so they can make informed decisions about course load, program requirements, and financial aid. Okay. So again, this is, I think I like this question because honestly, this is a tricky situation. There are a lot of things Omar needs to consider, and essentially all of them could be correct. All of us approach situations with differently. And so Omar might end up like being like, okay, I think I can manage all this. I'm going to visit a learning strategist to just double check to make sure I have some really good strategies for time management and distraction management. Omar might also recognize that they're entering university and what they used in the past may not work here. So I think that's a really good option. B is also correct. Breath requirements don't need to be completed in first year. It's nice if maybe some of your course load, well, actually, by just choosing courses, they will work towards your breath requirements. You don't need to complete all of them. A lot of students finish them in their third or fourth year. It's just nice to start. Um, C is also correct. Omar should probably find out what is considered full-time status for their provincial loan, but working part-time is something to really consider when choosing course loads. And so I think that one is smart too. And then D, of course, the majority of you did choose one. And of course, as an academic advisor, I want Omar to come in and chat with us. I want to be able to talk about all these things because one, there are multiple ways to solve a problem. And the big thing is just making sure we're considering all the factors that go into it. So that's it for those who chose that. I I think all of them are correct, but yes, D. I would certainly encourage Omar to join. All right, now it's the exciting part. We're going to have our students join us, and we have Mamie, Joshua, and Kajal. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and if I can invite um, all of the students to share their screen, that would be wonderful. And so what I'm going to do is just start with, if you can introduce your name, your program, and talk about how you chose your program. So Joshua, I'm pretty sure, oh, wonderful, great. Because I started with Joshua, do you mind sharing how you chose your programs?
Yeah, of course. First of all, really happy to be here. I would like to, I guess, like start off by saying that I think choosing your program and choosing your degree is not always easy. And I think that it's okay if like things change over time and as you grow as a person, and experience new things, that you decide maybe something is right or isn't right for you and like moving accordingly. So I guess to start off with my academic journey, I took a gap year during the COVID-19 pandemic when I finished high school. And I, at the time, was not, excuse me, not super sure with I'm just gonna have some water 1 second. My throat is like really dry. Oh my God. At the time, I wasn't super sure with what exactly I wanted to study. And given the situation of the pandemic, I just like didn't really have a lot of time to think about like I guess who I wanted to be as a person and the types of things I wanted to learn. And so I ended up studying computer science for a semester. And there were things I enjoyed about it, but I honestly did not really see myself doing that for 4 years. And so I transferred to Seneca College and I did a transfer program there. It was a liberal arts transfer program. So I did that for 2 years. And then I transferred to Woodsworth College, and now I'm a sociology major with a critical studies and equity and solidarity minor, as well as a digital humanities minor. And the reason why I chose that specific stack of programs is honestly, like, I think it was a combination of trying to align myself to my future goals, like what I want to do after I finish my degree, which is a master's in social work, and also just finding things that I personally am interested in learning more about and sort of building this skill set and this base of knowledge that makes me legible to, I guess, employers, but also just like I just wanted to shape the way I think about the world and see the world. And that really influenced why I chose I guess, the major and minors I did. So, yeah.
Joshua, thank you so much for sharing all that. Like, I think starting right away with recognizing that it's okay to not know what programs or that like, I think there's different people who approach these things in different, and I think what you said kind of touches on that. Like, some students know exactly what they want, and then some don't. And others they might have an idea and then being brave enough to consider other options partway through, like it sounds a little bit scary about changing what you expect, but it's true. Like you come across different things and then what we want from it. changes too. So I think what you've explained really does touch on it. So thank you for speaking so genuinely about that. I really do appreciate it.
Of
Um,
course, yeah.
Now let's okay, Jill, if I can have you, that would be great.
Hi, yes. So I'm currently in a health and disease specialist with a major in psychology and a minor in physiology. I kind of lean towards this area. It honestly took me a long time. In first year, I kind of went about looking at all the life science programs, their descriptions and their requirements, because I wasn't really sure. Life science is so general, and then there's so many programs and so many combinations. So I really liked the human biology department, and that's where I found the health and disease specialist. But if I'm being honest, I'm still considering a lot of program combinations. I've applied to some now, even going into my third year. So there is always opportunities to change. And because life science is so interdisciplinary, you're allowed to kind of still have those prereqs in third year because a lot of the courses that people are taking are the same up until probably third and fourth year. So I'm also interested in like neuroscience and immunology. But I do really like that human biology department. And then psychology is also just very renowned at U of T. And I got the opportunity to join an SLC, which is kind of like an FLC, but for second year. And that kind of like that got started my interest in research and just kind of set up my career path a lot because I am interested in pursuing research and doing graduate school. So that's just also like a great option to just kind of hear more from people in upper years, or if you can get involved in that way. I think hearing from experiences is the best way to know if something fits your lifestyle or your career path the best.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I think you touch on something that I've noticed as well. Like I talk to a lot of first year students who are maybe concerned about being and in life science being like, I need to take these specific courses, but really there are a set of courses that everyone does take, and it second year, it does change a little bit, but there are still some really common courses. So there is that freedom to pick your programs and then change and explore. Out of curiosity, what you mentioned you like human biology. Is it
Mhm.
the department? Like what do you like about it? I'm just curious.
So I liked the department. I think the programs were just very like aligned with research. So there are, I think, 4 or 5 programs under that department. And I just really like the HMB courses overall, and the profs and things. So just kind of like, I guess you have to find your department or your area that you like the most, and maybe even the course structures you like that you excel in the most. I think that's just like important. But yeah, I always kind of knew I wanted to do at least one program in the human biology department.
That's really cool. And I think the other thing, from my knowledge, a lot of human biology majors, I think neuroscience is the exception, but a lot of them are open. And I think what's cool about that is just when I talk to students, I think it's normal to want to gravitate toward limited programs because it signifies it almost like being able to get into limited, it's competitive, it's ex excellent. And I think one thing to remember is at University of Toronto, all of our programs are excellent. They all have world-renowned professors. They have excellent research opportunities. And I think human biology kind of speaks to that. Like they have excellent open programs that have those opportunities for research. So
Yes.
I just kind of wanted to speak about that as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then maybe if you could take a moment and share what programs you picked and why, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so right now I'm doing a major in linguistics and minor in sociology and digital humanities. Same with Joshua for the minors in digital humanities, which is such a small programs in Woodsworth College. So coming in as a first year, I had no clue this program even existed. I discovered digital humanities around, I think, summer last year, which was before I entered my second year. But as a graduated high schooler, I was like, oh, I just knew I really like languages, I like education, but I didn't want to do like minor in education like that directly because I wanted my programs or my undergrad to be more like broad and like have a lot of diversity in it. So I picked linguistics, which is such a another niche and small programs that a lot of you guys probably like, oh, this program even exists at U of T because I really like languages. I know five so far right now, and I think like it's so amazing how this department. I like how when I first went to their like I guess like a tea like or chat like type of event, they kind of told us that like it's very flexible that you can always go up or down in terms of like if you're started as a minor in linguistics, if you're interested more, you can always change your program to major. Or if you're super duper interested in the program, you can do a specialist. But let's say like third year, you're not that interested anymore. You always can drop it down to the major, and it's an open program. So it's very like flexible in that. And I think that's such a, that's such a good way to make like the choices very flexible and choosing. I did not choose like sociology and digital humanities in the first year. I chose anthropology. I think I went to like the first month of anthropology and found that that was not like the thing for me. So I switched around, tried to like do like diverse courses for like, first year. And one of the best advice I would like to tell you guys as an incoming first year is to go to a lot of club events. Like I surprisingly found that going to networking events really like opened my world. Like, okay, networking can be like very cliche, such a controversial topic, but like this doesn't matter what year you're in or like you're talking to a very successful like alumni. It's always nice to hear their journey because I also went to like I my club hosted like a networking event for mental health. And then I met one of the paddleists who just graduated Master of Social Work, and I talked to her a lot. And then now it's kind of inspired me to look into Master of Social Work. Same with Joshua as well, because I really like teaching, spending time with kids. Now I do part-time job in a lot of like tutoring, having so much fun doing school and side quest job as well. So I really recommend going to all of the club fairs. Of course, that's coming up in August, I believe. Is that right, Meredith? Yeah.
Uh,
Or
I'll have to check,
September.
but I
Yeah, but
don't know on
around
the top
that
of my mind.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for like first year, I think the best thing is to go to club fairs or any years. Like it's fun to go see how many like clubs there is. It's like more than 100 clubs, and you're gonna be surprised of like the variety of the club because it's so much to explore. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you brought that in because one, I think it does, I think your experience does talk about, like, speak to the fact that you kind of have to dive in and go to different experiences. There is that idea of happenstance where, like, some of the things we don't come across until we happen to come across it. So putting ourselves in different situations, like different courses, for instance, or different student experiences like clubs and stuff is great as well. Because, yeah, a panelist, for instance, just out of nowhere that you happen to come across now really has inspired for your next steps. The other thing that I think is interesting is like that you bring is the importance of student clubs. Like one, you get to meet a bunch of people, but I'm always impressed with how it's student run and how much like you can actually get in terms of skills. Like I talked to one student who is a VP on a student association or different thing, and those skills can really be put on a resume and whatnot. So not only does it open up to different experiences, but it really can assist with that. We are in the last like little 5 minutes, but I kind of want to ask Joshua and Kajal as well. Do you have any advice for incoming? Like maybe you've talked about some advice and I think it's great. Is there any other advice that's maybe on the top? I didn't, this is me just kind of like riffing here. So if it's okay if you don't have anything prepared, but let me know if you have any advice on the top of your mind.
I can definitely think of a few things. I think that going into first year, it's such a big school and there's so many different opportunities that exist. And I think that you have to really take advantage of the fact that there's like, again, there's the clubs, but there's also different programs like such as ASIP, which is like an internship program. There is just like so many good opportunities out there that not only like kind of enhance your university experience, but they'll give you perhaps knowledge or connections or things like that. And I think that's just so important because you not only learn more about yourself, but you set yourself up in the future as well. So I think taking advantage of that and maybe going to things that you're not sure about and stepping out of your comfort zone is so important. I say yes, there's the ASIP program. I would look into that. There is sororities at U of T. There are student clubs, first year learning communities, second year learning communities, just things like that I think are very useful, that I would definitely look into now while you're still in your first year.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Joshua, any advice?
I think like I agree with Kajal, like there is a lot to take advantage of, and I think that it just speaks to the fact that I guess like people get really caught up with like and overwhelmed. I think first year can be really overwhelming. There's so much information and things to do and things to like, I guess, explore. I think just taking things day by day and also just like, being open-minded, I think is really important. And I know at the beginning I said, it's okay if you change your mind about the things you want to study or not. I think just in general, like, I think just keeping an open mind, being open to new experiences, and you never know where an experience will take you. I've definitely myself even had experiences where going to a professor's office hour has like led to something like I built a relationship with the professor and then I got to, for example, present my work at like a conference. So you never know. Like I think I had no idea that that kind of thing could happen. But yeah, just like I think just being open to new experiences and letting those experiences carry you and seeing where things will take you and just letting that happen, I think is really important. And also just having fun. I think having fun is really underrated. I think having fun, really just enjoying being a student and becoming an adult. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so one, I just want to take a moment and thank you all for being here. I think you all have really shared a lot, but I there's a few things that I hear. Like one is that the office hours that you spoke about, like it's amazing how like I find like it is kind of intimidating to go to an office hour. You don't know what kind of that conversation is going to be like. So from Kajel's like advice, like try to push yourself out of that comfort zone, like and step into like new experience, like you said, Joshua. Like it can like open up, and it's true. Like if you have a nice rapport with instructors, not only are you able to like get to know them, who knows, it could even help with getting reference letters for masters, but it can also help with different opportunities that they might know of and be able to share. So that networking component that you've all kind of touched on is super great. And then having fun. Yeah, like I'm I'm speaking from an academic advisor point of view. A lot of the things that I talk about is from an academic point of view, but I do recognize that academics, although that is the purpose of why we're here, there are other purposes. It's like building skills, expanding our knowledge, having experiences. Like we are here, and there is like a fun component too as well. We are, yeah. So I'm really glad you all spoke. All right, I'm going to continue on. But yeah, again, it is an early morning here in Toronto, so I just wanted to really say that I'm grateful for our guests for joining us because what you've shared is really valuable for everyone. Program enrollment. So let's see. So program enrollment, I kind of touched on, and our students have spoken about their programs as well. There's two different programs. Two different types. There's all kinds of different programs. There's open and limited. And I kind of mentioned that you need at least 4 credits to complete your program and to enroll into programs. So that's why it takes place at the end of first year typically, if you're doing it on a full-time basis. And then limited, so open, all you need is to complete those credits and you're automatically enrolled. Limited tends to have additional requirements. So things like taking specific courses or maintaining a grade. but program enrollment happens every year. As you've heard from our students or upper year students here, is that some are going into third year and they're still like thinking about how they can change. So there is flexibility. And so program enrollment happens every single year. You can change your programs. My advice is one, really think about your requirement. Like it gets a little tricky in your third and fourth year to make those changes because it could change how long you might be in the university for. So that's why it is, if you're thinking about program changes, it can be helpful to meet with an academic advisor. But as you can tell, like there is a lot of movement that's still possible. Okay. So it's okay if you end up choosing some of your programs later on. But the goal is to have a pretty good idea of what programs you would want in first year, but be open to exploration. So I noticed that Natasha has shared our these tools. So you might be wondering, okay, how can I find more information about these tools? So essentially the academic calendar is where all the programs are listed. And then we also have the program toolbox where the list is there, but there's also additional information that you can find about each program. So thank you, Natasha, for sharing those resources in the chat. Also, we heard a little bit about some first year opportunities, specifically the first year learning communities. And so I just want to dive a little bit more into those. So first year learning communities, what these are is that they're small groups of first year students. And so what happens is you are pre-enrolled in a lot of the same courses, labs and tutorials, and then you meet as a group every week, facilitated by an upper year student. So it's great because you get kind of like a cohort where you meet people, you take some of the same classes, and then you also meet outside of that. So it's a really great way to form a community. This one you do have to apply for. So if you're interested, you can follow the QR code and apply by July 2nd, okay? The first year foundation seminar. Now, these are courses. Really, you enroll into these courses at this time of course enrollment. There are 20, the unique thing about these is that they're at the maximum of 25. So they go pretty quickly. So if you are interested in one, you'd want to get these in your, the first day you can. They're based usually on interesting topics. And they're a great way to fulfill a breadth requirement. So if you're just wanting a really fun course, dive in and you have room in your course load to do that, this one can be a nice. And also some of your classes are going to be huge. There could be hundreds of people. I think I've seen even some with 1,000. You know, like it can get quite big. So this can be really nice if you know this about yourself, that you like a smaller class, you like to meet people in a smaller, and you like to maybe connect. Like this might be a good way to practice getting to know your instructor because you'll have a smaller group to start talking to them. I have some examples. So one in Woodsworth that we have is the Indigenous Knowledge and Storytelling in Toronto. So this one, it has a touring component. So you tour the city of Toronto, there is guest speakers, and through this you gain a deeper appreciation of Indigenous territory, and then you reflect on your own relationship and responsibilities within this land. So this one is a really interesting, and I think it works to that breadth requirement one. Another one, if you're someone who's interested in science fiction, this talks about science fiction as a culture of genre, media industry, sociocultural phenomenon. So you look at text, look at the creators, and how it is included and has created this whole culture of sci-fi. So if you're interested in that, you don't necessarily have to be someone who this doesn't have to lead to a program. This is just for interest's sake, and it would work towards creative and like that ER1 again. And the last first year experience that I'm going to talk about is that first year Foundation Ones program. This is more a collection of courses with co-curricular events and experiential learning. So it's offered by our 7 colleges within the Faculty of Arts and Science. So each one of our colleges has one, and in addition, the Monk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. So if you're interested, because you're a Woodsworth College student, I think a lot of students might think, oh, I go to the first year one, foundation ones for Woodsworth. You certainly can, because they're very interesting. But you don't necessarily need to. If there's a program in Innis College that you're interested, or the Monk One, you certainly can. Just remember that Monk One, Trinity One, and Vic One all have applications. And I think they've already started. So that might be a limited, you may not be able to do that, but who knows, there might be some applications still open. Other ones like Woodsworth College, there are some courses that are affiliated. You just need to find out which course they are and enroll during those at those times. So my key takeaway here is that all of them are excellent opportunities. We've talked about how like the university is large. And so these are really great ways to be intentional about finding your community, about meeting new people on campus. So these can be really helpful in that way. Course enrollment is in July, so that's why it is helpful to start researching them now. The other piece of advice I would say is just don't take too many of the first year seminars or Foundation One programs. The reason for this is that they're not always tied to program enrollment. Like first year seminars aren't always connected to a program. So they should be limited. The priority should really be finding the programs you want to take for majors, minors, specialists. And then if there's room, try to fit these other opportunities in. I think first year learning community, they are tied towards your program or your admission category. So that one you certainly can, but you should. So opportunities after first year. So these are opportunities to just keep in mind. So fortunately, we've already talked about some of these. So the international opportunities are like academic exchange, summer abroad, international course modules. If you're interested in maybe going abroad, those are opportunities you certainly can. We've heard from our upper year students that are interested in research. Some of them are. And so there are research opportunities like the Research Opportunity Program or Research Excursion Program or Independent Studies courses. With ROPs and RUP, which is the Research Opportunity and Excursion Programs, what's great is you can get a half credit by working with an instructor and their research. There's opportunities to present that information, but what's great is that you can still get a credit for that. And then ASIP, we mentioned that this is Arts and Science Internship Program. And so this is our version of a co-op. Students do enroll in or apply for this in I think the June after their first year, once you have 4 to 8.5 credits. And so what's great is that it includes an internship part of your degree. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely look into that. What's great about ASIP, the thing to note about ASIP is not all programs have this component to it. So like, I'm not too sure all of them on the top of my head, but what I would probably do is do a little bit of research. And if this is important, you may want to include one of those associated programs with it. All right, we're getting near the end. So the other thing so just hold on for a little bit longer. But we have some really exciting events. We have the welcome event. We have an in-person one on June 13th. So that is coming up in the next, I think it's not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. It's an all-day event. You can register. What's great is you're going to hear more of these kind of types of conversations with upper year students. You're going to have the chance to meet other students in person. I have seen people meet and be able to exchange numbers, and then you get an idea of who's going to be at orientation and how you can meet up in the fall. But it also just is a really great way to get to know us, but also get to know the campus. So it is a really wonderful event. And of course, like in person is easier to join if you are in the general area of Toronto. But we do know that some of you, it would take a plane, like a plane flight to come. And that's for those who may not be able to make the in-person, we do have a virtual option as well on June 24th, 10 to 11:30, where we're going to cover a lot of the same information and whatnot. And also I want to highlight our mentorship program that is with the Office of the Dean of Students within Woodsworth. So most of you, you'll get an email from your e-mentor throughout the summer, and it's a really great way to make connections. So as I mentioned, well, I don't know if I mentioned, but all of us come, or I hope from the stories that we've shared today, all of us come with different experiences. Some of us have gone to other maybe colleges or universities and then transferred. Some of us, this might be our first time in university. For a lot of us, it probably is. But it might also be like some of us have parents that have come here. Some have like cousins or other students like in your class right now that are coming. So you might know some people. Others, this might be your first time in Toronto because maybe it's your first time in Ontario or in the country. And so there's lots of different familiarity, and I think mentorship is a really great way to connect with other people who can fill you in on information along the way. Like information like where's a good place to study on campus? When should I buy my textbooks? Where can I find a specific type of food? You know, like these are kind of the questions that maybe as an academic advisor, I may not be the expert on, but there are ways to make these connections, and then they follow into first year as well. All right, we are at 11 o'clock. I have a few more and then we'll really dive into the Q&A. But I like to just highlight that scam emails are here, like they do pop up in your email. So just be aware that they might show up. And they're looking quite convincing. They might look like the University of Toronto. Well, I say this not to scare, but just if someone's asking you for money, passwords, or personal email, just be critical of the emails that you're getting. Don't feel like you have to act immediately. You can reach out to us first before acting, and just know that we'll never ask for you to pay via an Interact e-transfer. Next up, some of you might, from this conversation, you might be interested in diving really into course selection. And what's great is workshops for that start next week. So we have 3 different offerings. The June 25th one is in person, but it's the same offering given 3 different times. So you only have to pick one. So I definitely recommend joining one of those. We're going to jump, it's a really informative option. Registration, you can join through the QR code. And then workshop 5, hidden curriculum. That's great because, again, all of us come with different knowledge. And so the hidden curriculum really talks about those unwritten rules, how to talk to an instructor, how to get those research opportunities, all those kind of things. If you're interested in research, some of you may not. Some of you may be looking for different opportunities. And so hidden curriculum really talks about that.